In this video, I am going to sew a version of the Jane in a slightly more autumnal style. I will make the sleeves a little longer than in the original design. And I will also use this nice printed gauze so that there will be some details of the garment that will differ because of this type of fabric from the original instructions of the pattern. As I said before, I'm going to make the sleeve a little longer. So, while this is the original pattern, the only thing I'm going to do is lengthen it from the cup. I'm going to make it about 65 centimeters long from the top, and that will give us a French sleeve length as a result. I will just lower the sides straight down. It will give it a quite rectangular sleeve shape, but once sewn, it will look beautiful. On the other hand, as gauze fabrics move more, they are more delicate. In the front, instead of keeping the original pattern slope, I'm going to make it come square from the center to join the bottom seam straight, without that curve that can make it a little more difficult for us to sew. Like any gauze fabric, it's a thin fabric. As I do not want it to be see-through in the chest area in the top piece, I am going to put 2 layers of fabric. Although it will still be somewhat translucent, I will use chiffon itself to make the print camouflage itself. You can base the 2 layers of fabric together so they act as a single one. First, we will join the front and back pieces together by the side seams. In this case, I will use a French seam, but depending on the fabric, an overlocked seam would also be perfect. We will reserve this part for later, and we move to sew the sleeve. On the wrong side of the fabric, you can mark the lines where you want each fold to be. In this case, I have put 3 separate fold lines so that the distance between them is the same. We will use a strip of fabric about 3.5 centimeters wide to act as a track through which we'll later pass the elastic bands. When sewing the track, we'll turn the end of the strip over itself so that the seam allowance remains free. To make this track process, you can also use off-the-shelf bias tape. If you are going to make it yourself with the fabric, you just have to fold the sides inwards and press them. And in this way, we'll sew each of the tracks of the sleeve with a stitching on each side of the track. Thanks to the seam allowance space that we have left, I will make a French seam to close the side of the sleeve. You have to try aligning both ends of each track. At the bottom of the sleeve, we can make a very thin hem. And for this, you can check our blog where we have a tutorial with the full photographic process. get the top back. And we will sew the sleeve to it by the armhole, placing both pieces straight with straight. I will use a bias binding to finish this seam. The top of the blouse is already sewn, so let's move on to the bottom. It has two rectangular pieces, which we will have to join at the ends. Again, I will use a French seam for this. In these pieces of the pattern, we have the notches that position the elastic band marked on the sides. So we will mark it on the wrong of the fabric to be able to make the tracks again. We will follow the same process as before to create the tracks, but this time it's a circular path, so we will decide the starting point and will end up at the same point. Leaving the entrances open on both sides because we'll later have to pass the elastic through it. Just like with the sleeve, we can also make a very thin hem on the bottom. And now we are going to join the upper and lower parts of the bodice, placing the pieces right sides together along their full contour. After passing a stitching along the seam allowance, we will take advantage of this same seam to create a third track. We will sew the tape following the exact same seam we've just made, stitching right on top of the same stitches we did. After making stitching, we'll press the tape outwards and then turn it towards the bottom of the bodice to make a hem ID, a track. Needless to say, the number of tracks on this blouse is completely up to you. We can add more or less in the bodice, and the same thing applies to the sleeves. At this moment, we only have left placing one more tape around the neckline contour. Because the neckline contour is curved, it's really important for this tape to be cut on the bias. We will place the tape right sides together with the blouse following the full neckline contour. If you do not have a dress form, it's best for the opening to be at the front, because in the last step of adding this elastic, you'll have to try the blouse on, But if you have a dress form, you can leave the opening at the back. Just like before, we'll press the tape outwards. And in this case, because the neckline is curved, we can run an edge of stitching along the contour of the seam. Finally, we'll fold the tape inwards and we'll make a hem in which the elastic band will later be inserted. We will fix the hem with a stitching on the edge. We move on to the final phase, where we'll be adding all the elastic bands. Regarding the length of the elastic band, it's best to place it in every contour we need it to be. And choose a length that works well for you. One that doesn't squeeze too tight because you'll be wearing it for long periods of time. Because if it's too tight, it can be really uncomfortable. To pass the elastic band through, we'll use a safety pin. We will start by inserting the safety pin through one end of the track and we'll slide it out from the other side. Carefully, so that the elastic doesn't get back inside the track, making it unreachable. To join the ends of the elastic band, we'll overlap one on top of the other. And we'll pass several stitches to them so that they're securely attached together. We will repeat this process in all tracks of the blouse. As you've seen, up to this point, we have used a flat elastic band. But for the neckline track, it's better to use a round elastic, because there are curved areas and a flat elastic band could get twisted in those areas. To finish adjusting the size in this area, it's advisable to place the garment on a dress form on yourself. Stretch the elastic until it's in a place where it feels comfortable, where the blouse doesn't go too high, but the gathering looks nice. Once we have this measure, we can tie a knot and leave the elastic finished. On the other hand, we need the armhole seams to point towards the shoulder. So we will be distributing the gathering according goal, so that most of it will be on the top area of the shoulder, just above the armhole seam, so that the elastic band is attached to the different segments of the neckline. And with these simple steps, I have finished my fall Jane blouse. Hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to share your creation with us.